All right, it says done. That means it's done. That means what? We are live right here on Facebook, Periscope, Single on a Saturday Night, all over YouTube. The point is, it's 30 interviews in 30 days. I am Shelly Williams. This is day 10. Let's be friends. Day 10, you want to be a friend? It's day 10, and I have Ray Hurst. He is a transformational coach and trainer, and we call him Papa Ray. When I met him, he was Papa Ray. Papa Ray, introduce yourself and tell him about your company.
Hi, my name's Ray. I'm also known as Papa Ray. I got the name Papa Ray because I stand in the gap for people as a father who didn't feel loved or accepted by their father. And I share a father's blessing to them as a son or a daughter. Now I'm focusing more so on intense personal transformation coaching, meaning we help you understand your owner's manual, meaning your body, soul, and spirit, how they work together and against each other. When you understand your owner's manual, you can operate you much better.
Awesome. But your story is a little although you're doing the training, but you actually, I mean, pre-COVID, you had a business that was a really successful business and you gave it all up. Talk about that transition, because a lot of people feel that way. They feel trapped or they want to do something else, but you actually leaped and did it. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I've been self-employed for 34 years. Started as an electrical contractor. In the last 16 years, I was a sign builder. And I always wanted to do the coaching full time. And when COVID hit, I'm like, if we're going to put our energy into something coming back, let's do the coaching. Let us drop the signs, which was making money, and just do full-time coaching. Don't always recommend making that big of a jump. It was kind of radical, but I'm looking back, as hard as it has been, I would not change it for the world because I
Wow.
absolutely love coaching.
Was there not anybody that could take over the sign business? Because you're saying it was a pretty successful business.
We were a small company, so it's just my son and I, and we have a fair amount of competition. So we weren't. We tried a couple of times to sell it, and we're just like, I'm not going to keep hanging on to something I don't want to do. And that's really so important about life, is you got to do what you love and love what you do. And too many people are just scared out of their mind to do what they love. And unfortunately, I'm hoping I'm not getting ahead of here, but unfortunately, people are not happy because they're not doing what they love, and they're scared to death to do what they love, which then translates into having a less than pleasant life. And your life will not go well if you're going to a place you don't like to go, doing something you don't like to do. I would much rather adjust my lifestyle and live with half of what I have to do what I love to do, rather than having what I have and doing what I don't want to do. Because being
Wow.
happy is key. I mean, it's like, do you live to work or do you work to live? You know,
Mm.
I don't think a lot of people live to work. It's not their joy. It's not like, oh my gosh, I get to go to work today. It's like, no, I have to go to work today. So that's why it's so important is to readjust your priorities. And that is comes down to being transformed by the renewing of your mind is, what am I here for? What is my purpose? What am I, just say 80 plus years I'm going to be on the earth. Why am I here? What is the purpose? What is my calling in life? Sadly, so many people totally miss their calling because they're scared out of their mind to do what they're called to do.
So with that, when you're saying you're calling, and I want to find out, what you think and how you can find your purpose. But let's talk about your son. You said your son and you and your son were doing the business.
Mhm.
So what is his calling? What is his purpose? So did he transition into coaching as well? Did he discover his calling, his purpose?
He did not. Unfortunately, he's very, very laid back. He's not a go-getter. So he picked up another job. He seems to really enjoy it. He's having a good time there. And some people are just content not doing a lot. And then there's other people like me that I'm a very driven person and I'm always looking to accomplish. Now, there is a downside to being a driven person is you got to stop and say, why am I so driven? What am I trying to prove? And I see some extremely successful people, or should I say, extremely wealthy people that are simply driven by the pain of their past. So if the pain of your past is what's driving you, is it really the best driver? Or is it your passion to make a difference in the world? There's a very extreme difference there. If you're driven by the pain of your past, you'll never have enough. But if you're driven by the passion, you will find fulfillment in it and you will find peace and joy. But when you're driven by your pain, there's never enough. There's never going to be peace and joy.
But sometimes people never know that that's what they're driven by. Some people don't even identify, and not even that. When it comes to purpose, even me, I'm gonna use myself as an example. Yeah, I was doing TV since whatever 1992 is when Urban Expressions came on. Yes, I was doing TV, but I didn't really understand it was my passion. You know, it took me honestly till COVID to really hone down on who I am. But I didn't know all those factors that involved. Maybe it was my past or what it was. I'm driven because that's who I'm by nature. I'm driven by nature. I like that. Driven by nature. I'm going to use that hashtag driven by nature. But
so what's the driver? What is the driver? Is it for the passion of betterment, or are you trying to answer an unanswered question in your past? Are you trying to prove to somebody that you are worthy? So here's where, so let me just back up real quick before we go. The way you find your passion and purpose in life, it is, what would you do if you never got paid? What would wake you up in the morning? What would keep you up at night? And what would you do relentlessly with and just endlessly without being paid? That's what you love. Now, your calling in life is where your passion, your purpose meets the needs of the world, where that comes together. What you love to do more than anything, where that meets the needs of the world, that's your calling in life. For me, that's
break that down one more time.
Coaching.
Can you do that one more time? Break
sure.
Down one more time.
Whatever your passion, whatever you would do day and night without stopping, and you would do it without being paid, that's your passion. That's your calling. So, I mean, that's your passion. So wherever that passion meets the needs of the world, that's your calling in life. Your passion is what you do without ending and without being paid. Where does that meet the need of the world? Now, you can monetize that calling in life. I have. As a coach, I will sit down with total strangers and give them my best information. And I'm going to do that here today on this show. Is I'm going to give you everything I've got. I'm going to give you the $1 million answers. And I love it because I don't want to hold anything back. I go on the podcasts and shows and I'll talk to total strangers. I want to make a difference. I want to make an impact. So I'm not going to tease you and say, if you buy my book, your life will be changed, or if you watch my videos. No, I'm going to share with you today how you can radically change your life. Very simple steps. It is a difficult process. It's like climbing a mountain. It's pretty simple. Just lift your one leg up and then lift your next leg up and climb up the mountain. But it's a hard process. It's daunting and it's hard process. But before the end of the show, I promise you, I will give you all the steps that you need that you can radically change your life if you're willing to follow these simple steps. But again, let me just warn you, it is a hard process, and that's why more people don't do it. So, but again, coming back to your passion, people, let me just say, if you're working a job that you don't like, get out. I want to encourage you
That's
to
hard.
find what you love. Because if you don't find what you love, you can't bring love to the world when your energy is being stolen from you, when your time and energy is being consumed with something you don't want to be doing. And I know there's circumstances where you're kind of stuck and you can't,
You got to
you're
pay the
wage,
bills.
you got to pay the
You got to pay the
bills.
bills. Yeah.
And I'm not telling you, oh my gosh, whatever you guys do, don't just quit your job and go be an artist or a singer. That you're not making any money. You got to pay your bills, yes, but find a way, chase your dream. So to see into the future, you have to believe in dreams. To catch a dream, you have to be willing to chase it till one of you dies.
Mm,
To see into the future, you have to believe in dreams. To
mm.
catch a dream, you have to be willing to chase it till one of you dies.
True.
If you're not willing to chase the dream, then you're never going to catch the dream. If you're not willing to lay everything down to follow the dream, now again, you got to provide, you need to put food on the table in a morally, legally, ethically way. But if you're not willing to chase that dream, if you're going to sit down, I'm going to make it real here. Can I make it real?
Sure. Get real.
If you're working an 8, 10 hour day and you come home and you sit yourself down in front of that TV, you ain't getting your dream. It's not going to happen. The best thing that most of you people can do is sell your television and invest that money into some books. Seriously, sell your television and invest into, Shelly was just talking about Grant Cardone. You get into Cardone University, it costs you so many dollars a month, but it's fill your mind with the positive, motivational, uplifting, transformational input, and it will become your output. When you work at 8, 10 hours a day, you're doing what you have to do in life. What do you do after your 8 or 10 hour day is what's going to take you into your dreams.
But is
What do
it
you do when you leave that job? What radio station you listening to? What podcast you listening to? What books are you reading? Is going to determine your future.
but is it safe to say that not everybody is just made to be an entrepreneur or made to have their own thing? Couldn't it just be possible that there's just people that's made for 9 to 5s forever?
I don't think God created us to be 9 to 5 people. It wasn't
Really?
God's will. I'm just going to make it real. I don't think it was God's will. But there's just a certain element of people that really don't have the drive. Their drive was stolen from them in their childhood. And that's what I do as a transformation coach is I get into the core, into the beginning. So I'm just going to dive in really deep here.
Yeah, dive in
Everything
deep and start giving us some of the tips. We're ready for it. We're ready.
You ready? All right.
Ready. We're ready.
Everything you struggle with as an adult, I have found, I'm going to say it this way. As a personal transformation coach, I have found that everything that my clients struggled with as an adult came from their childhood, from conception to 7 years old. Now, maybe 7, 10 years old. I'm just going to say 10. We're going to say from conception to 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say from conception, I am saying, yes, there is prenatal wounding. There is things that happen when the child is in the womb that has a major effect on the whole rest of your life, including your adult life. And Shelly, we had talked a little bit about the Father's blessing, and I have been watching very intently that when we do this Father's blessing, we start at conception, first, second, third trimester, birth, infant, all the way through every step of life. And now as I'm understanding epigenetics, how the brain, the thoughts of your brain affect the cells of your body and literally affect all of your body. As I share this blessing, particularly in the womb, I watch for facial expressions to change. And it can be as little as a twitch. I stop, I go back, I reemphasize the love, the acceptance, the wanted, that they weren't abandoned, they were wanted and loved. And it radically changes physically, mentally, and emotionally. We have seen dramatic breakthroughs by going back and correcting the lie that child received in the womb.
So how do they receive it in the womb? So could it be this situation? Maybe their parents were fighting and they were getting a divorce. That is that what you mean by something like that?
So I do this crazy thing called immersions, is where I'll fly anywhere in the world and stay in somebody's house for 3 days. I sleep there and eat meals there, and I start our session at 8 o'clock in the morning at their kitchen table, and I'm in session until 6 o'clock that night for 3 straight days. It's called In Your Space, In Your Face.
Wow.
On the third day, we have them invite all their children. So if they have adult children, we have them invite all their children to come back home. And I help the mother and the father go through the mother and father blessing for their children. So they do with each one of their children. See, I bless the time of your conception, and they go the whole way through their life. We have seen beautiful, loving, caring parents that as they were doing that, I stopped and I re-emphasized. And the 6-year-old, this happened twice, a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, where the child literally jumped off the sofa and just grabbed a hold of the dad when we stopped and went back and re-emphasized that they were not rejected or abandoned. In the one incident, the mom said, "Oh my gosh," she goes, "when I was in the second trimester, I just did not want to be pregnant." Now, don't get me wrong, this was an amazing person who is a beautiful person and a very loving, kind, and gentle person all her life, but overwhelmed. I think 4 or 5 other children. This was the youngest, and here she is pregnant, just whatever circumstances in life. She's like, "I don't really want to be pregnant." So in my mind, is the egg, the sperm, and the spirit come together at the same time. So it's not 2 things. To me, it's 3 things. So the person's spirit is attached at that time. So I call it a spiritual wound that the person can feel that rejection in the womb. We have seen this so many times that as we corrected the lie in the womb, it dramatically, radically changed that adult person's life. Just by standing in the place as a father and say, you are loved, you are wanted, you are accepted, particularly in that particular area. First trimester, conception, we started conception, emphasizing they were not a mistake, they're not an accident. And how many parents inadvertently just say, well, you weren't really planned, you were kind of an accident. They have no idea the psychological damage that does to a child.
I didn't realize it, and I know my mom probably didn't mean it, but I wasn't planned. I wasn't. It wasn't the part of the plan because my father and they were married, but they were having marital issues, and I believe at the time of conception it was just a reconciliation, and then boom, here's this young lady. So could that have been my whole back? Because I've always had that fear of people leaving. What is it called? The fear of people leaving.
Rejection, abandonment.
Rejection, abandonment, fear of people leaving, the whole you're not good enough. And it could be because, my father wasn't there, once.
Oh, that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. So I wasn't planned for one. Then I do get here with the love. My mother loves me. My mother loves me. My mama loves that. It don't matter about nothing else. My mama loves my mother loves me.
Yeah.
And she has showed me continuously. But he wasn't there. And I think it was a stumbling block up until not too long ago. Not that he hasn't made amends, not knocking him at all. Now, if he hasn't made amends and apologized for, apologize. He literally apologized. I can't say, and his reasoning was he was selfish.
So I'm glad you brought that up. That's so powerful. So let me just unpack that a little bit.
Okay.
Is we are the sum total of every single part that makes up the whole of who we are. So if you can imagine a checkerboard, every square of that checkerboard makes up the whole checkerboard. Now, if one of them checker pieces, that one of them blocks is missing, guess what happens? It is not complete and it's not whole. Now, if you could look at your life, and I just turned 59 years old. So,
oh yeah, you did just have a birthday. Happy belated birthday.
Yeah. So I cannot separate any part of my life from my life. Now, here's the curious part. My brain, every moment of every day, is doing a research of my whole life to determine what's going to happen in the next moment. It's going to make a determination of what I perceive will happen in the next moment based on everything I believe and perceived about my past that is similar to what I perceive is about to happen in the future. Now, this happens in a nanosecond, literally at the speed of light. Our brain does the research, comes back with the information, checks in with my attitude, my emotions, how do I feel about the other person, and I come back with a response. Boom. Now, here's the problem. If I think at all that it is not going to go well for me, cortisol and adrenaline go racing through my brain. Cortisol is a nasty drug that your body creates to keep you safe. It's called the stress response. When the stress response kicks in, your cognitive thinking processing ability greatly diminishes, literally from 720 bits of data down to 20 bits of data. Did you ever see a very super intelligent person do something really stupid?
Yeah, I've heard of it, yeah.
Yes. Why? They did not lose their IQ. IQ is intellectual intelligence. They lost their EQ, emotional intelligence, emotional awareness. When an event occurs, they do not feel safe. Now, here's the trick. It can be perceived. They can just think it's going to happen. There's no evidence other than they think it could happen. Cortisol instantly rushes through their brain, takes away the cognitive thinking processing, poof, in a nanosecond. You can literally feel it rushing through your body. The adrenaline, the cortisol, and all the other chemicals, you can feel that rush go through your body. And all of a sudden, you're like, woof, and you don't even know that you're not being creative anymore because 100% of your brain is focused on being safe.
So is that, so when you say being safe, so that is that equivalent to someone who could be in a relationship and they could be going well and everything, all of a sudden they make a decision to back up?
Yes.
We call it ghosting, but they make a decision to ghost and they leave because they felt a situation that could hurt them.
Yes.
Or they've gotten too close and possibly gotten too deep, and I'll come back. I gotta pull myself away because I'm in the process and I could get hurt if I get too close, get too deep.
Exactly, because their brain did the research and it came back with the perception, I'm about to get hurt. So before I get hurt, I'm going to ghost. I'm going to disappear so you can't hurt me. But what you don't realize, when you ghost somebody, you're hurting yourself. You are majorly hurting yourself. Because now you don't just disappear and not think about that person. You're thinking about them all the time. You're processing that all the time. And you're worried about what are they thinking. You're consumed with what are they thinking. But now you create another bad scenario. Because you ghosted them, now you feel bad. And now you think they're angry at you.
Right.
When you think somebody's angry, you don't want to be around them, but you care. It's like, oh my gosh, I care, but I don't want them to be angry. But if I go back, they're going to be angry. They're going to chew me out. Oh, I really care about the person. But if I go back, oh, it's been 3 days now. Well, now if I go, they're really going to be upset. But wow, I really miss them. Now it's 4 days. And then the scenario just grows and grows and grows and grows until you drive yourself crazy thinking about what are they thinking, you're thinking that they're thinking. So you got all this thinking going on. Now, here's the crazy part. You have 40 thoughts a minute. That's about 70,000 thoughts a day. Dr. Joe Dispenza said about 50% of your thoughts that you are thinking today are the same as yesterday that you didn't resolve. Now, when you go and ghost somebody, you are thinking, what are they thinking about you? It's like, you can't help it. If you got close and you got in a relationship, you're thinking, what are they thinking? And then you start letting this run through your mind. And then it becomes consuming. But if I did this, that would make them think that. And if they thought that, I would think this. And then this, and you get consumed. This is why so few people are successful. Because they're not able to take them thoughts captive and say, stop, you're not allowed to be here. So I got a simple 5 steps. It is real simple. You stop. And you say, what am I thinking? First, you got to say, what am I thinking? Here's the critical one. Why am I thinking that? Number 4, is it true? Number 5, what is the truth? We have them 40 thoughts a minute and we're trying to outthink our problems instead of stop, number 1. Number 2, what am I thinking? Write it down. What am I thinking? Why? Then write down, why am I thinking that? Where'd that come from? How'd you even get in my head anyway? If it's true, what's the truth? Now, here's the key. If you really want to unpack this, you wrote down, what am I thinking? And you wrote down why. Do the second 5 steps. When you write down, why am I thinking that? Whatever the answer is, you write down, why am I thinking that? And write the answer. Whatever the answer is, why am I thinking that? Whatever the answer is, why am I thinking that? Whatever the answer is, you know it. Why am I thinking that? Number 5, why am I thinking that, will not even be close to number 1. The first thing you wrote down, why am I thinking that, is just something to guard you from getting to the real deep reason. I told you I'm going to give you my best information.
You did. I think some people are saying some stuff on Facebook, but I'm gonna need my glasses to read it because somebody got Abby. You got a book out there. I gotta read it. Wow. Now I feel like I'm a horrible mother. Telling my 2 of my children I had them because God wanted it since I was on birth control to prevent a pregnancy. I didn't want any more children. My children and having a nice talk. Wow.
So let me speak to that person.
Okay, Abby. Abby, that's Abby. That's you.
So Abby, it's never too late to go back and correct the things that you did wrong. And it's really simple. Just sit down with your children and say, listen, I was broken and I was empty. I had no idea what I was doing. But I want to assure you that you are wanted and you are loved. And I am going to affirm that you are wanted and you are loved even then. Speak to that time. Go. So here's the thing is people want to speak to the moment right now, but go back and speak to that moment of conception and say, I want you at your conception. I accept you at your conception. And then speak to them and saying, I accept you in the first trimester. You are wanted. I accept you in the second trimester, all the way through life. It's going back and speaking to the moment that the thing occurred. And again, this is by far the most powerful thing you can do. Whatever you're struggling with in life, you have to go back to that event and change the meaning. Real great example. Had a guy come in here. I said to him, I said, what do you want to work on today? He goes, he don't know. I said, ask the Holy Spirit. He's there like, he goes, that's just weird. I'm like, no, you heard something. So what did you hear? And he's like, nah, it's just crazy. I'm like, what did you hear? He goes, well, I can't stand when people chew food close to me. He goes, I go crazy. I just go absolutely nuts. Said, so as a devout Christian, the Holy Spirit showed me instantly what it was. But I knew that he had some struggles with his dad. So I had to get him to tell me what it was instead of me telling him, hey, I know what it is. So we start unpacking it. And I had to make him find it. He got back to the point where he was 5 years old, sitting at the kitchen table, eating breakfast, and his father would be sitting there eating his cereal with his mouth open, just chewing away and ignoring him. In 5 minutes, he was completely cured by changing the meaning he gave to somebody chewing with their mouth open. The meaning he gave to that when he heard that sound is, I am rejected, I am abandoned. What I did is I said, I want you to visualize you, the 5-year-old boy, sitting at the table, hear the sounds, tell me when you can hear it, when you can see it. He goes, okay, I'm there. I said, I want you to look for Jesus. Where was he? And he goes, he's standing behind me. I said, what is he doing? He said, his hands are on my shoulders. I said, what does that mean? He's paying attention to me. I said, that's right. What happened? In his brain, he instantly changed the meaning. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind means change the meaning you give to it, and you will be radically set free. And that's all I do, is I literally take people back and I tell them, I don't tell them what to do. I help them to find the new meaning to give to it. He went home and I said, you go tell your wife to choose something standing beside you. The next day I seen his wife, said, hey, you do what your husband told you? She goes, are you nuts? You crazy. I would never. And I'm like, you go home and try it. I guarantee you he's cured. 10 o'clock that night, she goes, oh my God, I'm sitting here eating popcorn while he's watching TV right beside him and he's not even flinching. It works every time. Change the meaning that you give to the original event, and it will radically change your life forever. My meaning was, when I was 4 years old, my father left. For the majority of my life, I knew leaders, bosses, pastors were going to abandon and reject me. Guess how I lived my life? Around all male authority figures. I got rejected because I knew that I was going to be. When I realized that my father was empty and broken, he couldn't give me what he didn't have, I changed the meaning. My father never abandoned me. My father never left me. He was broken and empty, and he could not give me what he did not have.
Woo.
When I changed that meaning, it radically changed my life. And now, as a personal transformation coach, that's all I do. I literally, you tell me what you're struggling with, we'll go back and find it, and we'll change the meaning. So if we can make it personal, Shelley.
Sure.
When your father, as a child, he didn't abandon you. He didn't abandon your mother. He was broken and empty and went looking for what he couldn't find. He didn't abandon you.
Right.
When you realize that, it radically changes your whole life.
Absolutely. He can't give me something from an empty cup. And I mean, you know, eventually I got it, because I feel like when a person says they're selfish, that starts to say, oh man, that's a problem with you. And
Yes.
And then when you look at yourself, the way I look at it, I feel like you lost out on something amazing because I found my self-love, and I'm like, oh, you missed out. You missed out on raising
Yes.
me. I'm a joy, So
Yes.
I had to start looking at it like that, but didn't doesn't mean it didn't affect me for so many years prior to, so many relationships prior to, and still it creeps back in here and there in little situations. I mean, I guess that's why I'm single on a Saturday night. I don't think I do relationships well, but that's a different story. But
So what happens is too many people don't want to deal with that pain because the pain coming out hurts as much as the pain going in. And so it's like you got a splinter here in your arm and you tug on it, it's like, that hurts so much. Oh my God, it hurts. I ain't going to deal with it. Well, guess what do? You walk around with a splinter in your arm, and to the point it gets infected and you become incapacitated and you can't do anything because you don't want to deal with the pain momentarily to be able to have full functioning of your arm for the rest of your life. But instead of, get in there and yank that splinter out. And this, I'm just going to say this. This is why I believe 1 hour counseling, mentoring sessions should be outlawed because you can't get nowhere in 1 hour. You just go tug on that splinter a little bit and tug on that splinter. And 1 hour therapy and counseling is so wrong because you just go tug on that a little bit and tug on that. Oh, okay, that'll be. You'll pay me now. I'll see you next week. What do you do next week? You tug on that splinter a little bit, tug, tug, tug. And then you send them out the door. It's like, hey, hope I bandaged you up good enough, but get out. Next person's coming to get their splinters tugged on. I personally want 4 hours minimum first time. I prefer 8. I have a money back guarantee. If I don't help you in any way in 8 hours, I'll give your money back. So guys, here's the thing. This is not about me. This is about me giving value. This is about me giving value to your audience. Guys, wherever you are, find a counselor, mentor, therapist that is going to sit down with you for 4, 6 hours, 8 hours, and just dig, 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 dig. No matter how much you scream and cry, you need to find somebody that's willing to just keep going and pulling and pulling and pulling because it's so important. How many times do you want to go back for a 1 hour surgery? You want to go to your doctor's office and get surgery on that splinter an hour once a week for the next several months?
No.
You want to go for a whole day surgery and get it done.
Get it done. Hashtag get it done. Yes.
And that's the problem. We don't like to face the pain. It is very painful. But again, this is all about being renewed by the transforming of your mind. Intense personal transformation. It means change how you think. Because your brain is a perfect record keeper of what do you think happened. It will keep it in record exactly the way you put it in there. And guess what? 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, when your brain goes back to determine what's going to happen in the next moment, it'll bring out the same sights, sounds, smells, and everything exactly the way it happened 50 years ago. And it will calculate and compute everything detailed. Even though you couldn't remember it if I asked you, your brain does. Comes back with all the details at the speed of light. Boom. And sends you into a tailspin. And that's why you do these things that you don't want to do. Pastor Paul says, I do what I don't want to do, and what I want to do, I don't do.
Yes.
It's the brain. It's the emotions. So I see all these people that, want to be spiritual. Guys, you got to clean up the emotional to be able to get to the higher level spiritual. Because here's what happens. The spirit, we all want to be led by the spirit. We all want to hear from God. But the emotions keep getting in the way and say, no, that ain't safe. That's not safe. Boom. Shuts down the spirit. The mind will never control the spirit. The mind has to get out of the way so the spirit can rise up. Whenever the mind gets scared, boom, it shuts down the whole spirit. And it goes back to my core beliefs. My core beliefs are from conception to 10 years old. If I never go back and correct the core beliefs, they will always come back and take control again. That's why we run into relationship problems. That's why we run into communication problems. That's why we come up against what I call hitting the wall. We're going through life, boom, we hit the wall, we fall down, we go back, we get up, we hit the same wall. We fall down, we go back, we get up, and we hit the same wall. We fall down, we get up, and we go back and hit the same wall. There is no reward on this side of the wall. Zero reward on this side of the wall. All the rewards on the other side. There's nothing on this side of the wall. Nothing worth having. That's why we're miserable. That's why we're angry. That's why we're depressed. Because we have to get through the wall. You can't have anything on this side of the wall. There's nothing here. We got to break through that wall. That wall, every time, I'm telling you, every single time is emotional. Change the meaning you give, and you will break that wall. Bam.
Is that the same reason? Like for a while, I've been at the same church for, I don't know, well over 10 years, and I felt like in the beginning, for the lot of the beginning, maybe like the first 8 or 9 years, I felt like I wanted the approval of the pastor. Like I wanted his approval. I wanted him to celebrate my business, or where I saw him doing that for other people, and it felt like he wasn't accepting me. But I finally one year got to a place where I was like, I don't need his acceptance.
Come on, girl.
Accepted.
Come on.
I don't need his acceptance. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, you are.
My business is going to grow with the Lord Jesus Christ, not with the acceptance. But it was a feeling. I always felt like I needed that acceptance. Like I wanted him to see, look, I'm better now. Basically, I wanted him to see I'm not the same person as I came in. But I don't have to prove that to him. You know, I don't have to prove that to anybody that I'm not
That's
the
right.
same as I was before. But I don't know if that had anything to do with my childhood, why I wanted him to accept me. Like I'm not that heathen anymore. I'm different. I don't know. I don't know if that had anything to do with my childhood.
I think it did. That was a little girl looking for daddy's approval.
Wow.
A love deficit that has never been filled cannot be healed. A love deficit that has not been filled cannot be healed. And that's why the Father's blessing is so powerful. We have seen unbelievable major breakthroughs emotionally, mentally, and physically when people hear that Father's blessing. Even when I'm in Brazil doing that, and I can't speak their language, I'm using an interpreter. Major life-shifting breakthroughs. Because what's happening? You're literally going back, tearing down the lie. So as a spiritually minded person, I believe our struggle starts in the emotional. And our emotions are based on our beliefs. So I believe a lie. That lie now affects my emotions, which directs my future beliefs. Now, when that lie gets big enough, the enemy has an authority to stand on a lie. So the first time the lie comes in, the enemy is allowed to attach to it, Satan and his demons. As that lie grows, their strength and their ability to influence me grows with the lie. Almost 7 years ago, I struggled through my second major depression. This time I was 5 minutes away from suicide. I was literally done. I was hopelessly done. I had totally given up. This is the second time. The first time was 25 years before that, when I lost my home, lost my business, had to file bankruptcy, lost everything. And here I am 25 years later going through this same thing again. I'm right in the point of losing everything. And Lord, I'm done. I mean, I don't even believe that. I believe you're there, but I don't believe you care. So As I was walking to my shop, a righteous anger rose up inside of me, and I felt this severe pain. The anger was at the depression, and I felt this severe pain in my head momentarily, and then it was gone, and my mind went completely clear. I went from almost a year, that this depression built up over a year to the suicidal part was about a year's stretch where things just start spiraling out of control, to the point I honestly believed that God was laughing at me. I honestly believed, I allowed myself to believe that God was laughing, and he would call the angels together and they would laugh. And what happened is I never dealt with the childhood things of my father leaving. So that built the lie that I'm abandoned, I'm rejected, I'm worthless. That built that lie over 50 years, and to the point where the enemy was able to attach to that lie so much that I got to believing that God was laughing at me, and I wanted to die. I was done. Praise God, a righteous anger rose up in me. It got so powerful that that demon had no room to stay. And as that real severe pain in my head was that demon grabbing a hold, and he couldn't hold on, and boom, it was gone. The pain was gone, and my mind instantly went clear. The Holy Spirit spoke to me that very night and said, Ray, nobody's coming to fix it. I was standing there like, whoa, I felt like I just got off of a boat that's been on a rough sea for a year. I mean, I'm standing there, I'm like, oh my God, what do I do now? What do I do now? 3 days later, the Holy Spirit spoke again and said, as clear as day, Ray, they were broken and empty. They couldn't give you what they didn't have. It took me about a year to get my equilibrium to really, I mean, I knew I wanted to live. I was on fire. Now I'm like, whoo, I want to live. And I got a message, wow. But I'm like trying to, like, really trying to, what do I do next? Where do I go? What do I do? So we love to scale things from 0 to 100. And right at that, before that breakthrough, my wife and my son and I did this together, and we come up with a common denominator that we were on a scale from 0 to 100, 0 the worst, 100 the best. We were at 25. That was in 2015, I think. And in 5 years, we were at a 95. And just last year, I said, okay, Lord, we're at 95, 96, hitting this ceiling. What happens now? So I kind of got a little wigged out, and I'm like, okay, what do I got to push forward to? And then I just finally said, Holy Spirit, what happens now? He goes, don't worry, Ray. You're just going to break through and it's going to get hurt again. And that's exactly what's happening. We are at that point of that breakthrough right now into a different realm. And as we are breaking through, things are just getting overwhelmingly hard, difficult, struggling, trying to find my, where do I go? How do I make this next step? And every time you break into that new level, you come up against things you don't know. It's like you step into college. It's overwhelming. In 4 years, it's like, that's a piece of cake. Oh man, what was I thinking of? I was like, that was nothing. Well, that's where we are. We broke through, and now we're at that next level of, trying to find who is with us, where are we going, what are we doing, and it can be a struggle, especially when you're really pressing in to that higher places and then higher power. But it comes back to this. You have to deal with the junk of your past. If you do not, your past beliefs will forever dictate your future. If you do not go back and correct the meaning, you can't bury it and just say, oh, that's just, it's there. You can't plant crops on top of a nuclear waste site and not expect to have it be affected by it. No, you got to get rid of the contamination. You got to get rid of the lies, the wrong beliefs. So many people don't want to do it because it is very, very, very painful.
It is. Dealing with the past is painful. I want to, everybody's on here. Let me put my glasses back on.
Yeah.
Put these back on. Cicely. Hey, Cicely. She said, go, Shelly. Thank you, Cicely, because we were in the same church. Abby said, yes, we will. I guess she's going to go back and check it out. Yep, true, Daddy. That's Monty. That's my sister Monica. She said, yes, true, Daddy. Do your thing, Shelly. Thank you, DJ Storm. Just deal and not ignore. Yes, deal with it and not ignore. Absolutely. Deal with it and not ignore. But it's kind of hard. You know what? You say deal with it and not ignore, but sometimes we don't even know that it's an issue. We don't even know sometimes that we're holding on. We don't know what that is that's holding us back. And that's one of the things you do, discovering what it is that's holding you back from getting to the next level. But sometimes we don't even know.
And that's the 5 steps. It's a real simple 5 steps. When you're hitting the wall, you stop. What am I thinking? Why? Why am I thinking that? Is it true? What's the truth?
Got it.
Simple 5 steps. I'm telling you guys, if you follow these 5 steps, you're putting me out of a job. But I just believe out of the 7 billion people in the world, somebody's not going to get this. I mean, it's a hard process. It's a simple step. Stop. Just stop. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking that? Why? Write it down. Is it true? What's the truth? Write it down. Whatever you write down, why am I thinking that? Whatever your answer is, why am I thinking that? Whatever your answer is, why am I thinking that?
So you're saying this will unlock you getting to your next level, whether it's your business level. Cicely said, oh, I so needed this. Oh, Cicely, I'm so glad. So you're saying write down the 5 steps. Oh, right. Oh, you want me to write down the 5 steps? I'll write down the 5 steps, or we'll go back and write it down.
Yeah.
So you're saying once you do these 5 steps, you're saying that it will lock you to get to where your purpose is, or unlock you to get to where you're going to go.
What's the number one thing that stops you from life, love, and career? The number one thing that stops you from moving forward in life, love, and career is your past. How do you think? What is your perception of what happened in the past? Remember, your brain's doing a research of your whole past to determine what's going to happen in the next moment. And it does it at the speed of light. If you do not correct the information that was input, that's going to become the output.
Got it. So does that, when it comes to relationships, I mean, like I said, I'm not an expert in relationships, but I have been through a lot. I've been through some relationships. When I think of relationships, I think of work.
Okay.
Now, if that makes sense, I think that it's going to take a lot of work, and I know everyone says it. I don't care who's in love; they could be in love to the rudder to the so in love, but they all say it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
I feel like I'm not up for it. I'm not up for that.
See that now? Okay? Let me just make it real. You just sabotaged yourself. I'm not up for that work. So any relationship, no matter what that relationship is, friendship, intimacy, whatever, you already set your brain up to say, I'm not ready to go deep to really make that relationship work.
I'm good with friendships. I love my friends. We go deep. I don't know. I guess when it comes to a lifelong commitment.
Yeah.
Lifelong commitment, meaning you have to intertwine and you have to join each other in one home, in one area, and they come with all this, and you come with all this, and you have to commit to this.
Mm-hmm. Because you said you're afraid of it, now your brain makes that the number one focal point. Even though you don't think it, your subconscious is always bringing that into the calculation. It's putting that into the mix because that's what you said.
No, that's not what I say. It's what I feel.
But that's what you feel is what your brain puts into the mix.
Oh.
Your subconscious is putting it into the mix. You don't consciously, your subconscious, because you determine that's what it is. Guess what? If you go to work saying, I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job, you can't perform. You cannot go home healthy, happy, and full of love. Somewhere you fill a tank up with enough air, it's going to leak or blow out somewhere. It's going to come out at the weakest place. So you start filling a bag up or you're pressurizing it, whatever's the weak point. It may not be at your job. It may be with your family. It may be with your children. Maybe with your husband. Maybe with a friend. Maybe online. Could be alcohol, drugs. Could be anything. Somewhere it has to crack because you're putting too much pressure in it. If you don't correct the meaning you give to it, it's going to blow out somewhere. Somewhere something's going to leak. Something's going to blow. And it's going to get ugly. So you see these people that all of a sudden you heard them do something crazy. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. Yeah, it's because they put so much energy in putting on their mask that you could only see this, but you had no clue what was happening behind the scenes because they never dealt with their junk.
Woo! We got a lot of junk to deal with. So when you start these sessions, who? All right, who's your target client? How about that? Who's your target client?
So we're really shifting towards businesses. We want to be like a on-demand HR department. We've done a lot of crisis management for individual and marriages. As I do love restoring marriages. I grew up in a broken home. I've been married 36 years. I get the stress of marriage. I really do understand it. Been there. Totally, it's a miracle that my wife's still with me. I think the only reason that for up until recently, since the last 5 years, the only reason she stayed, she was afraid to go anywhere else. It's being real. That's radically changed because we have both radically changed. And that going from 25 to a 98 was us as a family that has done that incredible growth. So
that's good news. So in your 30 something years, you're changing, and things got hard, but you both did work, internal work and in mental work and emotional work to get to a place where you like each other again.
That was only in the last 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was our major transformation happened in the last 5 years to the point where we have very few arguments. Where before our disagreements and would be like weeks and months that we just couldn't stand each other. But again, it's not me dealing with her junk. It's me dealing with my junk. I'm the problem. And when I realize that I'm, so many people like, yeah, it's the other person. It's always the other person. I've never seen two people fighting. It's just one person that's doing all the fighting. It's when we keep looking at what can I be different, it will make so much progress when we stop looking at the other person's faults and try to find our own. Because what it does, it inspires the other person to want to do more when you're doing something. But when you're constantly pushing them to do something and saying you have nothing wrong, well, that's not true. There's nobody, no couple that both of them are contributing to it. There's, I mean, I'm sure there's rare cases where it's a very abusive husband that, or a very abusive spouse, you could say, it could be
spouse,
yeah. As an abusive spouse that is just out of hand. That's very, very possible. But again, guys, it really goes down to this: is with my 40 thoughts a minute, my 70,000 thoughts a day. What am I thinking? And if I'm thinking that you're wrong, that means I'm not spending any of that time looking at how I'm wrong. If I keep saying it's always your fault and I'm not taking responsibility, guess what? I'm never going to take responsibility because I don't put any of that thought process into what am I bringing to the table. Everybody is bringing something to the table that they could change. Everybody. And I desperately do not want to go political here. Let me just say, if either of these sides would just stop and say, what am I thinking? Why am I thinking that? This would radically change the whole world. Both sides. I mean, there is not one that's worse than the other. They're both completely out of control. Stop. What am I thinking? Why? Is what am I doing helping or hurting?
Absolutely. I was trying to write it in. What am I doing? Why am I thinking that?
Yep. What am I doing? And I don't care what your job you're at, in your whatever your relationships you're in. And I know I'm going to get some backlash, and you have no idea what my spouse is like. My spouse is such a nasty person, whatever. I'm telling you, there's always something we could do different. And I get it. There are just some mean people out there. I get that. But there's so many times when we really dig in there, there are some things that we could definitely be doing different.
Absolutely. Well, it's that time. It is 2:00. I've kept you for a long time now. It's an hour. So thank you so much. Talk about your website and how they can get in touch with you and all those things.
Yeah. So you can follow me on Facebook at Ray Hurst. On Facebook, I do a lot of posts. I try to get something on every day, comments or videos. My website is ILAP, stands for Improving Life Action Plan. The website is www.ilapnow.com. That's ilapnow.com. ilapnow.com. Find me on Facebook at Ray Hurst, or it does say Papa Ray in there. Love to, hey, if I can help you in any way, if I can encourage you and bless you, I'd love to do that. And follow my Facebook. I do try to put positive, uplifting, motivational content on there pretty much daily. I want to be to the world what the world was not for me when I needed them the most.
Wow. That makes sense. Well, thank you so much, Papa Ray. Thank you for, continuing to be a light. And, I'm so glad we connected so many years ago and have the opportunity to talk again. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Shelley. I love you. You are amazing. And thank you for bringing it, girl. You really are a great positive energy. I just really appreciate you. Thank you so much,
Papa Ray. Love you too. And I will be talking to you.
Awesome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.